Pleasure to welcome Vic Benz to the program once again. Victor is the environmental chair for the Alberta Fish and Game Association. He's also one of the key elements of the Friends of the North Raven River. Victor, thanks very much, and welcome once again to Let's Go Outdoors.
Thank you very much for having me, Michael.
Let's start off with the view from 10,000 feet. What is the latest that you can tell us in terms of new developments with the proposal? Of course, you have put forward a new proposal that would basically create a buffer around the North Raven and a couple of other springs. So give us an update on where things stand right now.
So as you may know, Michael, in early December, Dr. John Fennell and I made a presentation to Clearwater County to establish that buffer. The understanding that we had from the development and planning group was that they were unable to properly evaluate our proposal, and we recommended that they take it to the Alberta Environment and Parks Water Division for their appraisal as to the quality of our work. County Council agreed, passed a motion to do so, and we've been waiting to hear news on that. I contacted the county in both February and March to get updates. Eventually got permission from the county to directly contact the approvals manager in Red Deer, whom I did contact. And after a long discussion with the approvals manager, essentially AEP declined to get involved, using arguments that this potentially created a conflict of interest for them, and that they already had a proposed project applicant within the area of concern, which was new to me. So I then approached Mr. Reyes of County Planning and Development Department and thanked him for giving me permission to talk to the approvals director. And the approvals director had specifically stated in his reply to the county that you, the county, may wish to consider asking another consultant to do a peer review of the supporting document provided by the Alberta Fish and Game Association if you do not have the internal capacity to review that document. I made sure that Mr. Reyes understood that I wish to appear before County Council to pursue exactly that matter, encouraging them to do a peer review of our work. Mr. Reyes then responded, telling me that he was planning to appear before County Council on the 13th of April, and that he wasn't certain about what role I might have to play in that application, but he did forward my request to the county administrator, and I'm waiting to hear on that matter.
So it sounds like things are getting kind of bogged down in the bureaucracy of county politics. Would that be a fair assessment, Vic?
Well, that and also AEP. I'm actually quite disappointed with Alberta Environment and Parks. I have to emphasize that the Ministry of Environment and Parks holds as its first listed goal the support for environment conservation and protection. In fact, its own lead website page talks exclusively, if nothing else, of all manner of achievements in environment conservation and protection. The ministry also simply states that it is made up of public servants working to protect the environment. Yet senior officials in the same ministry have declined to help a county assess a professionally authenticated report that proposes the very same environmental conservation and protection for a unique Alberta treasure. And their grounds for that decision is that it might limit their ability to approve Water Act applications, particularly those that have a very real potential to destroy that very same Alberta treasure. This is in spite of the fact that the ministry does have in-house expertise on this matter and that the county does not. I'm of the opinion that they're simply hiding behind an ill-conceived legal justification of potential conflict of interest or fettering their ability to make decisions. From this perspective, the ministry might be more accurately called the Ministry of Industrial Protection.
Any plans then, Vic, to move your concerns further up the food chain, perhaps all the way up to the minister himself, outlining some frustrations here?
Well, certainly, there appears to be a disconnect with respect to what the ministry claims that it's doing. And yes, we will be exploring those options. First and foremost on our agenda is to be able to appear before County Council this coming April 13th and present our case and try to get the County Council to agree to get an independent consultant to provide an appropriate peer review of our work.
That seems to be, I guess, the silver bullet maybe in this barrage, and that is getting someone to, as you said, do a peer review of the work that you and Dr. John Fennell have done in terms of presenting an option to the county to protect the headwaters. So that's kind of the, I mean, I don't know. Do the Friends of the North Raven River move something forward to go out and find a perhaps it takes another call for a raise of funds in order to have that done? But is that something that might be in the realm of possibilities, Vic?
It is. You have to realize, Michael, that what we've asked the county to do is quite unusual. To my knowledge, it's never been tried before. It's usually been on an application by application basis that individual groups have protested and appealed those applications. We've tried something quite different here. We've said, there's significant potential for multiple applications in this area. Why don't we just try to head them all off with one fell swoop and provide the protection for the North Raven that it richly deserves? So I am not surprised that this concept, because it is new, is taking some time to work its way through the channels of government. However, having said that, it is time that Albertans stood up and be counted. In terms of appropriateness, I do think it's important that the county select the consultant to be to try to be as impartial as possible. I have absolutely no doubt that we could find numerous hydrogeological consultants that would back our perspective, but that would be just from one side of that fence.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because, I mean, you go and you look at the credentials that Dr. Fennell brings to the table. I mean, he is a world leader in this field, and I don't know. I mean, yes, I'm close to this issue. Obviously, I don't want to see a mine go ahead, but when you bring in one of the best in the world, and I don't think you can question the science. That's just an anecdotal thing from my behalf. It just seems kind of crazy that the county can't even look at this on face value and accept what is being said. Unfortunately, this is really falling into the realm of politics.
Most certainly it is. Not only politics, but falling into an area where a bureaucracy has essentially established a precedent, done things their way for quite a period of time, and is not terribly flexible, particularly to those from away who present a different perspective on certain issues.
All right. So April 13, when will you know whether or not you will be granted another audience with the Council of Clearwater?
ideally before that meeting, but I do intend to follow that meeting live on stream, which anybody can do on the Clearwater County webpage, and just see which way it unfolds. And we'll plan our appropriate action from that point forward.
So at this point then, Vic, there's little, if anything, that us taxpayers can do, whether you live within the county or wanting to vent some frustration towards Alberta Environment Parks. It's sort of a sit back and wait and see what happens after the 13th.
Not quite true. I would strongly suggest that people for whom this topic matters continue to contact the county to push that the county hire an independent hydrogeological consultant to assess the work that we've already done and to move forward on this matter. We have to play this against the new municipal development plan that Clearwater County has proposed, which intends to create a special aggregate district across the county, which will mean that all approvals for gravel extraction will be exclusively by county council. And that brings with it the fact that this approval of a license to extract gravel will not be appealable anymore. It was only appealable if it went through the Planning and Development Department. That leaves us with the only possibility of appeal being through Alberta Environment and Parks once the Water Act application is made, which is what we're dealing with. I also should emphasize that the application, as I understand it, that's before Alberta Environment and Parks today is not for the gravel extraction itself. We were aware some time ago that Border Paving was proposing through their consultant a particular set of tests that would require digging a number of temporary pits on the McQuiston and potentially the Kime property to test the aquifer. We know none of the details. And what's also important is that I did a close search of the applications possible under the Alberta website for applications, and none of this information has come up. So I've in fact sent an email late last week to both the department and to the approvals manager, trying to get an explanation. A, why isn't this particular project listed on that website? And B, why Alberta Fish and Game Association, being immediately adjacent to the property where this is being considered, has not been notified that such an application has been made to the Waters branch in Red Deer.
And I guess the other question that needs to be asked is who will do the assessment of the tests that Border Paving is conducting? I mean, if they're not accepting your scientific papers and results, who's going to do the results of these test wells?
Well, certainly their hydrogeological consultant will provide a report to Border Paving. I have to say that Border Paving has been very open with us and has to date supplied us with all the information that has been gathered through various test units that they've installed both at Stainbrook Springs and at the Levitt property. So we are hopeful that this attitude of openness will continue. We're eager to look at the results, but there is one caveat, and that being that my understanding of one of the test pits is that it could be quite close, within 100, 150 meters of the headwater springs on the Levitt property. And we're quite concerned and have not received any feedback either from Border Paving nor from their consultant as to the potential implications that might have for the springs on the Levitt property.
Your concern is that if that test well is drilled, that itself may have an impact on the flow of the groundwater.
It's not a test well. It's actually a large pit, 100 meters by 30 meters. So we're not talking, just a little hole in the ground. We're talking more something akin to a typical water dugout that a farmer might install on his property. And because of how close that might be to the headwater springs, we're concerned.
And rightly
but we've,
so.
And since last fall, we haven't heard anything from either Border Paving or their consultant on exactly what it is they're proposing. This is why we went to the application's website to try to determine exactly what's on the table, and there's no information there either.
Well, it sounds like the work is still cut out for you and the folks that have been rallying around the protection of the North Raven River. Victor, thanks so much for the update. Obviously, we're going to keep on top of this story, and we look forward to hearing more from you soon. I guess the next big thing will be whether or not you make an appearance on the 13th of April. Please keep us posted.
I shall. Thanks very much for your time, Michael.